Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. From March 15th through March 18th, Flipside Gaming is holding their St. Patrick's Day sale. During this time, when you use the promo code HEROES, you will get 15% off all orders over $10 instead of the usual 10%. Also, pre-orders are now available for War of the Spark and Modern Horizons booster boxes. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and today we finally got the deck list for the upcoming Challenger decks for 2019. 4 decks in all. We're going to look at all of the deck lists, give you complete visual spoilers and my thoughts on each of these decks. So without any further ado, let's get into it. These 4 decks will come out on April 12th, and the MSRP, yes, they did give us an MSRP this time, is $29.99. You're going to find as we go through here, there's a lot of value packed into these decks, which is very good to see. Now, the whole concept behind Challenger decks is you'd be able to take a deck and have an on-ramp to start playing competitive Standard. Are they completely 100% amazing decks out of the box? No, you're going to want to upgrade these decks. And remember, because they had to design these decks ahead of time and then produce them, they almost feel like a snapshot of Standard a number of months ago. These were designed around the time of Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica. A lot of things have changed with Ravnica Allegiance entering the format, colors becoming more accessible. But they did at least manage to put together 4 decks that give you at least a starting point, and let's look at each of them. Our first deck is United Assault, and this is the mono white aggro deck. This deck has evolved over the last few months. You don't see a lot of people playing mono white as often as you see Azorius aggro, or even sometimes Boros aggro. Boros aggro actually was something that a lot of folks were doing around the time of the Guilds of Ravnica Pro Tour, and they were bringing a lot of the red out of the sideboard many times. This deck isn't doing that, but it is keeping the white core that we're kind of used to at this point. So let's see what's happening here. We're going to begin by looking at the creatures. And here's what you get out of the box. 4 Dauntless Bodyguard, 4 Healer's Hawk, a copy of Haunted Witness, 4 Leonin Vanguard, 4 Skymarcher Aspirant, 4 Adanto Vanguard, 4 copies of Ajani's Pridemate, and finally, 4 copies of Banalish Marshal, which is kind of an engine card here. And it was nice that they gave you 4, considering this one is a rare. So that's pretty nice value. So you see what's going on here. A lot of cheap creatures that have abilities on their own. You can pump them with the Marshal. Yeah, nothing too surprising here. Let's see what else is in the deck. Instance. You get 3 copies of Summary Judgment. Enchantments. 2 Legion's Landings. Now that's something you might want 3 or 4 copies of in a deck like this. Same thing with History of Benalia. But at least they gave you 2 Legion's Landings and 2 Histories, considering they are rare and mythic. So that's kind of nice. And 3 copies of Conclave Tribunal. For your lands, you simply get 21 planes. Here's your sideboard. It consists of 3 Knight of Grace, a Remorseful Cleric, 2 Tecatli Honor Guard, 3 Shieldmare, 2 Make a Stand, 3 Baffling End, and another Conclave Tribunal. Alright, Mono Red fans, here's Lightning Aggro. This is a Mono Red aggro deck, and you know, this is still viable. Out of the box, like I said, with the other one, you probably want some upgrades. A lot of people might want to switch this over to Rakdos aggro nowadays, but you do get some good core cards here. Here's your creatures. 4 copies of Fanatical Firebrand, 4 Gitu Lava Runner, 4 copies of Runaway Steamkin, nice value there, that is a rare of course, 4 Viashino Pyromancer, 4 Goblin Chain Whirlers, another really strong rare, and 1 copy of Rekindling Phoenix, a mythic that, of course, has been a very powerful card ever since it was released. Now, granted, a lot of the good cards they give you in these products are the cards that are going to rotate out in the coming fall, but as long as you buy this product early, you have a number of months to get use out of them, and it is nice that they included Rekindling Phoenix. It does add some value here for sure. Sorceries. A copy of Banefire, 2 copies of Lava Coil. Instance. 4 Shocks, 4 Lightning Strikes, 4 Wizard's Lightning, quick and to the point. Enchantments. You're going to find 2 Experimental Frenzies. A lot of these decks will want to run 3 or 4 of these, though. Lands. 22 Mountains. And here's your sideboard. 4 copies of Diamond Mare, 4 Lightning Mare, 4 Fight with Fire, and 3 Fiery Cannonade. Okay, let's move on to Deadly Discovery. So this one is a 2-color deck. This is Golgari Colors. This is your old Golgari midrange deck. Do a lot of people play Golgari midrange anymore in Standard? A few do. I do see it kicking around still, but for the most part, these have morphed into Sultai midrange. Many folks will still use a lot of the core cards that you're going to find in this particular deck, but they do enhance it now with Hostage Taker and of course Hydroid Krasis. So keep that in mind, but again, it's another good starting point. You do get a Planeswalker in this one. Unfortunately, it's not Vivien Reid, it's Vraska Relic Seeker, just one copy. Now, when they were designing these decks, the two Vraskas were actually seeing a little more play than Vivien Reid, so I understand why this is here, but of course that has changed over the last few months. Creatures, here we go. 4 copies Llanowar Elves, 4 copies of Merfolk Branchwalker, 4 Seeker Squire, 4 Wildgrowth Walker, 2 District Guide, 2 Jadelight Ranger, 1 Plague Crafter, 3 Golgari Finebroker, 3 Ravenous Chupacabra. So you can see what I was talking about here. The core cards are intact for the most part when it comes to your Explore mechanics and such, but you definitely want some upgrades here if you're going to take this to a GP, for example. Sorceries. 2 copies of Find Infinality. Instants. 4 copies of Cast Down. Enchantments. 3 copies of The Eldest Reborn. Lands. You'll find 4 Golgari Guildgate, 2 Memorial to Folly, 1 Overgrown Tomb, I guess at least they gave us 1, 2 Woodland Cemetery. I kind of wish maybe they gave us a second Overgrown Tomb, but I'll take what I can get, I suppose. 8 Forests, and 6 Swamps will round it out. Let's look at the sideboard. You're going to find 2 copies of Kraul Harpooner, 2 Reclamation Sage, 4 Duress, 3 Golden Demise, 2 Murder, and 2 Argyl's Bloodfast. Okay, let's move on to Arcane Tempo. This one's interesting. It's not quite the Drake deck. It's not quite the Phoenix deck. It's sort of in the middle. I guess that's good because then you could upgrade in whichever direction you want to go in. But definitely some viable cards here still. Let's look at creatures. You get 4 Goblin Electromancers, which are in particular varieties of these decks, but not all. You get a copy of Arclight Phoenix. Now, because of that Arclight Phoenix and some of the other cards in here, this is the one that holds the most value out of the 4 Challenger decks right out of the box on day 1. But remember, when these do hit shelves, a lot more copies of these cards will get out there, which will bring values down. But at least on day 1, with this one holding as much value as it is, and including a card like Arclight Phoenix, this is the one that will most likely sell out the fastest. You're also going to get 4 copies of Crackling Drake, 2 Murmuring Mystic, and 2 Niv-Mizzet Haroon. Sorceries. You're going to find 4 copies of Charted Course, 4 copies of Lava Coil, and a Beacon Bolt. Instants. More cheap spells here. Dive Down, 2 copies, 4 Ops, 4 Shocks, a Blink of an Eye, and 4 Radical Idea. Enchantment, just 1. The Mirari Conjecture. Lands. 4 Izzet Guildgates, 3 Sulphur Falls. You don't even get a Shock land this time, unfortunately. You get 8 islands, though, and 7 mountains. What about the sideboard? 3 copies of Entrancing Melody. That's kind of nice to have. They are rares, and a lot of folks do use them currently to deal with Hydroid Krasis in the format. Beacon Bolt, 1 more copy. Shivan Fire, 2 copies. Disdainful Stroke, 2 copies. Negate, 3 copies. Fiery Cannonade, 3 copies. And 1 more copy of the Mirari Conjecture. Alright, those are the deck lists. Here's my final thoughts on the product, though. This is one of my favorite products that Wizards of the Coast puts out every year, and I think they did a great job again this year. There's a lot of value packed in these boxes, and like I mentioned before, the Arcane Tempo deck has the most value, but they're all pretty good. Sure, I do have my complaints, especially around the mana base. It would have been nice to have seen another Shockland or 2 in Deadly Discovery and Arcane Tempo, but overall, I'm very happy with the product and what they did here. You know, the biggest obstacle they have is they have to design these decks well before they're actually going to get to the public. And unfortunately, the meta is going to move on. They did a really solid job, though, of picking decks that, sure, out of the box are not necessarily the same decks that you're going to see played in GPs today that are competitive. However, you're going to get a lot of the pieces for good value, and then you can upgrade into the deck that you want to play, and I like that a lot. So overall, really happy with what they've done again this year, and if you're looking to pre-order these decks, I do have a link to Amazon. They are available already on Amazon, but I think at this point you have to buy all 4 until they add them individually. But if you're looking to do so and you want to support the channel, just check out the description below. Also, tonight is the last night of the St. Patrick's Day sale at FlipsideGaming.com. But for a few more hours, you can still use the Heroes promo code to get 15% off any order over $10 instead of the regular 10%. They do have some good prices with that discount on the War of the Spark booster box. You can pick that up there if you're looking for one, or also Modern Horizons is available for pre-order there as well. As always, though, thank you to everyone who supports the channel, whether you look at those links or not. And until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.